Peace, peace, peace. When I see 35 to 50 years before he even call himself a Muslim son, when I see that, I don't just think of masonry, right? Because he said, well, build on the 55th degree on 120, please. Can you build on the 55th degree on 120? That's the born degree in the 1 to 14, if you got it in that order, right? If you didn't get it in that order, we're still going. You know it's not 55 for you, but it is the born degree in the 1 to 14. But anyway, long story short, right? So 35 to 50 years doesn't. I mean, it makes me think of masonry, but not totally, because in my mind I'm going, well, Muslim son would be Shriner, right? And so Shriners are not Masons. Masons may be Shriners, but Shriners don't necessarily have to be Masons, if I'm correct. But I know that Shriner is an order all of its own, and Masonry is an order all of its own. And so the Shriners are, I would think, they're imitating Islam, the Orthodox style, based on fezzes, so that would make me think of the Moors. And so 35 to 50 years of your life, if you're going to look at it from that perspective of masonry, after you hit the 32nd degree, or the opening would be a fellow craft master mason. So you'd be entered apprentice, fellow craft master mason, right? And then eventually you first you have the substitute to the infallible name, then you get the infallible name, right? And so you might even understand the science behind the tetragrammaton and all that, right? Okay, so now that's that part. This is still we still on the ninth degree, right? So then we keep moving on, and now we start going into the greatest and only universal flag. So when I go into the flag, right, because it says, and we're the greatest and only flag. All right, so now, when I'm thinking of that, I'm going to automatically go right to Shamgar, and I'm going to go to the universal flag of the 5% cycle. And on the universal flag of the 5% cycle, you see the sun, seven, moon, and stars. And then you take it from there if you're going to build. Now, there's two lessons on that I have. I've seen two lessons on the universal flag, right? The one Shamgar wrote, and somebody else wrote. I wrote one. Right, so you can do the knowledge of those. Ask the enlightener. What if you could get a copy of that? Right. So then the next big he goes through with his labor. So that's still going back to the 35 to 50 years, and then we permit him to wear the flag, right? And so as time is traveling, because time is motion being made, that's why you look at sun, seven, moon, and stars, because you're looking at time being made, right? When you see, for instance, the physical composition, air particles in a clot of blood attach itself to the uterus wall. That's day one that you're on the planet Earth. You just inside of your mother's womb because you growing. That's the fact. You're growing. And so, eventually you're in the womb for 9 months. That means you've been on Earth for 9 months and you come out. Usually. And then 3 months later, they'll say, oh, he's 3 months. But really, you're 12 months then. Because you keep following the Gregorian calendar instead of following the original Asiatic calendar. Your people, because the planet Earth is Asia, and Asiatics come from the planet Earth. So the whole planet is Asia. He has you going and thinking that little section that we call Asia is Asia based on the UN, but that only been around. The UN only been around since 1947. It was called something else, some kind of United Nation group. All this took place after the Ottoman Empire. If you're going into your lessons, it'll be 1453. You feel me? All right, so now we're going to move on, and we're going to go into the sword as an emblem of justice was used by original man in Muhammad's time. So now, are you talking Muhammad the Prophet, Abdullah ibn of 1400 years ago, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him? Are we talking about him? Could be. But we also definitely are talking about Muhammad the Conqueror, 1453. All right, so do your due diligence and do the knowledge to Muhammad the Conqueror. All right, and then, all right, so now we're going to keep traveling, right? We're going to come to, we could go, it makes me go back to taking off by the sword. So, his head will be taken off by the sword, right? So now, if we do the knowledge to his head will be taken off by the sword, that's when if you in masonry, they gonna know what I'm talking about when you do the enter the apprentice signal. When I'm talking to my brethren and they don't know, I don't want no one to know I'm talking to them, and I don't want to say anything. They give them the sign of the throat, the sign of the mouth, and then throw it over the shoulder sign, and then the sign of the heart, and the sign of the gut. You could give all three if you wanted, and no one would even catch it. All right, so that's that. And then we keep traveling. So he will keep in mind that anytime he reveals secrets that we gave him this chance, he would say, see, so if we're going to keep in mind that any of the secrets that we gave him this chance so he can clean himself up and come among us, his head will be taken off by the sword. So now, look, that's what they doing. They giving you the sign of they not going to give up the secret or their head will be taken off by the sword. Right? And then we travel down to the holy flag of Islam is the greatest and only flag known. And so that would make us go to the next level and go to the holy flag of who is the 5% nation. For us, that's our holy flag. The sun, seven, moon, and stars. And it's the greatest and only flag known in the 5%. And there's a play on words on that because you have all those different flags that Shamgar was presenting to the Father before he accepted whichever one he was going to accept. And then we came up with our flag we got now, right? So you get that mathematical equation, and that takes you to that level. So in the universe, everything, the sun, moon, and stars, that tells you right there, right? And then they are planets. See, now, that's where the key comes in, that the sun, seven, moon, and stars are all planets. The sun planet, the earth planet, and the moon planet. Right? Those are all planets. And so once you understand that they're all planets, it's such a vast and intriguing science to go get the telescope. That's why I said, if you see your 120 in the proper perspective, you run to the store and buy a telescope. So on them dark nights, you can look into the sun, moon, and stars. And then you want to go buy a microscope so you can see the microcosm, the macro and the micro. Feel me? All right, so where we at now? Okay, so we saw what was holy, things that haven't been diluted, made to tamper with in any form, right? I mean, we could have sat here and quoted the whole degree. And in the old days, in front of each other so I could see your face. But anybody knows and understand, they can hear it. Like, if you try to act like you reading it, like, they gonna know, like. So he cleaned himself up. See, you could see that he was able to clean himself up See, because the Muslims doesn't love the devil, God goes, how long he has said, after he goes through this for the 35, 50 years, we try to learn. And do like the original man. So, after he has devoted 35, 50 years trying to learn, do like the original man. That's why they be saying he be studying this, that, but he don't be trying to learn and do like the original man. He be trying to master the original man. So how do we counteract his mastery over us? You master 120. Simple things in the lessons that everyone can do that immediately sets up the destruction of the devil's civilization, automatically increases the original man's civilization, right? So, knowledge itself. When you start understanding who and what your people are, it's an automatic bang for him. That's the first one. The second one is who's the colored man. And when you understand who the colored man is, that sets up the next bang. Boom. Prior to those two hits, where you are paused, prior to those two hits for the bang, you have to understand that you had got the dietary law first. You just didn't know that you did. Like when they say, "Oh, well, when you teaching knowledge of and you give it to how you got it," like I give 9 reasons why Allah is God, right? And so that's the first lessons that you quote under this tutelage. But what was the first degree you received was I so self true reality, Son of Man, God. No, that's the first degree you received to quote. That was a word of mouth degree. The first degree, you knew the first degree, even though I had already gotten it years prior to, would be How to Eat to Live, Book 1 and Book 2. That would always be your opening, is How to Eat to Live. So, with that, I'm out. Divine Understanding, Born of Law. You know how we do it. Set the record straight. Ancient and free Asiatic Southern Man 7. Remember, no grain, starch, soy, dairy, sugar. Go. If you're going to eat animals, use Leviticus 11. You in there. They can't stop you. If and when we make those type of moves as a people, we will crush the devil in one day without falling victim to the devil civilization. Peace.